Some of my fondest memories involve driving games. From the endless summers of my childhood spent on Rainbow Road with my friends, to my teenage obsession with Initial D at my local arcade, and finally with today's seemingly endless driving simulators and arcade racers. Racing games have always held a special place in my heart. And while I may not be the biggest fan of drifting, even though I daily drive one of the cars featured in the game, when I came across DRIFT21, I figured I'd give it a shot, and well, I'm pretty glad I did. Okay, so let's get this out of the way first. DRIFT21 is currently in early access and is limited to 3 extremely customizable cars: the Mazda MX-5, Nissan Silvia S15, and the Subaru BRZ. So if you're somewhat into drifting or like current car culture, you'll recognize these. This has to be one of the most in-depth racing games I've played in a really long while. Unlike most racing games, where when you customize your car, you're just subjected to an endless amount of lists and spreadsheets, DRIFT21 lets you play first-person mechanic and gives you the ability to place your car parts and mods in a more interactive and surprisingly fun way. Kinda like this Katana shift knob that should totally add 100 horsepower, by the way. I mean, come on, look at that thing. Nothing says king of the track like that. The first-person view is engaging, and I spent way more time in the garage than I ever thought I would, mostly due to DRIFT21's robust amounts of parts, body kit options, and its surprisingly detailed paint shop. I finally made the BRZ the way Mr. Toyota intended, so you're welcome everybody. All that being said, there were a few times I couldn't get an exhaust in the car because I wasn't pointing at the correct hitbox, and one time where I totally lost the steering wheel under the car. But since this is an early access game, bugs are expected, so don't get too discouraged. Overall, this is a really cool idea, and I hope this is expanded upon because the entire act of working on your car in first person really adds charm to what's otherwise a pretty hardcore drifting sim. So now that's out of the way, how's it play? So I'm no stranger to spirited driving in real life, and while I'm not winning any Formula Drift competitions anytime soon, when it comes to drifting, I'm pretty critical on how games handle it. Most titles tend to make drifting feel more like Mario Kart than Initial D, and there's a very good reason for that. The average person playing the average racing game is exactly that, an average person. They want to have fun, get the car sideways, hit the apex, and go fast. When you start to add shifting, proper braking timing, and general car driving know-how, you end up with something that's a little bit less accessible. And while I appreciated all of that in DRIFT21, I definitely ended up making my car auto shift due to how hard it was to make shifting up and down a second nature on a standard PS4 controller. DRIFT21 has wheel support, and if you're the type who's serious about driving simulators, it's a safe bet that you have one of these. But while I don't own a wheel yet, I've found that adding custom buttons and sensitivity to my Astro C40, drifting in the game became a much more pleasurable experience. So if you don't have a wheel, but you have access to a controller with a bit more options like an Xbox Elite or an Astro C40, this can work out really well. You can also play the game with a mouse and keyboard, but like, why? As the name implies, DRIFT21 is a drifting game to its core. Currently there are 3 gameplay modes: Solo Run, Time Attack, and Free Play. And while these did feature a handful of Japanese tracks, it's extremely limited. But once again, this is early access, and I was able to get a few hours of fun out of this preview, so it never really felt dry. The game is also pretty well optimized, so if you have a halfway decent rig, you're good to go here. Driving is tight, drifting took a minute to figure out, and once I got used to sliding my Toyobaru around the track, that's a really weird word to say out loud by the way, I started to have a ton of fun. It felt great to abuse the BRZ's boxer engine, and while I was never quite able to get my car around the track as well as the developers do in this trailer, it was still an overall rewarding experience, and quite frankly, really fun. So if you're a car guy, you loved Initial D, you're looking for something with a bit more realism than Forza, or you just want to try something that's challenging that doesn't involve dying, DRIFT21 is totally worth checking out, and honestly, I couldn't recommend it anymore. Now go burn some rubber.